Of all the questions I get, this one from Mike is perhaps the most terrifyingly plausible. Mike asks, what would happen if the entire global internet was suddenly switched off and stayed off for a full year? There's no easy way to say this. It would be the longest Monday the world has ever experienced, multiplied by a nuclear apocalypse. The initial problem wouldn't be the lack of cat videos. It would be the instantaneous paralysis of the single most complex nervous system humanity has ever built. First, let's define our scenario. The internet isn't a single switch you can flip. It's a terrifyingly resilient, decentralized network of millions of servers, undersea cables, data centers, and routers. So for this to happen, let's assume a perfect storm. A series of unprecedented solar flares combined with a sophisticated, world-eating quantum virus targeting every single piece of networking hardware simultaneously. At time zero, the lights go out. Not the electrical grid necessarily, though that would be affected too, but the lights of global communication. The first second would be deceptively quiet. Then, the silence would break. The global financial system would be the first to scream. Every stock exchange on the planet would freeze mid-transaction. High-frequency trading algorithms would vanish into the void, wiping out trillions of dollars of virtual wealth in milliseconds. But it gets more real, fast. Bank transfers would cease. Credit and debit cards would become worthless pieces of plastic. A TMS, which pulled their data from remote servers, would stop dispensing cash. The concept of digital money would evaporate. Within hours, people would realize their digital wallets were empty, and a global bank run would begin. The problem is, the banks wouldn't have any physical cash to give everyone. Society would start to run on barter and suspicion. The true collapse, however, would happen at the supermarkets. We've built a miracle of modern efficiency called just-in-time logistics. Stores don't have large warehouses anymore. They rely on constant internet-coordinated deliveries to keep shelves stocked. Without the internet, that system is blind and dumb. A truck driver wouldn't know where to go. A distribution center wouldn't know what to send. Inventory systems would be frozen. Within 3 days, grocery store shelves would be bare. Within a week, cities would begin to starve. The food is still there, on farms, in processing plants, on container ships stuck at sea. But without the networked intelligence to direct it, it's as good as gone. Panic buying would turn into looting, and looting would turn into a desperate struggle for survival. Our social fabric would tear like wet paper. Without social media, the constant hum of global connection would be replaced by an eerie, isolating silence. But also, without reliable news sources, rumor and misinformation would spread the old-fashioned way, by word of mouth, leading to panic and paranoia. You couldn't call for help. Cellular networks and VoIP services are part of the internet. Landlines might work for a time, but their routing is also digital and automated. Police, hospitals, and emergency services would be overwhelmed and unable to coordinate. The world would fracture into isolated pockets, each dealing with its own collapse, unaware of what was happening in the next town over, let alone another country. After the initial chaos, the long, dark age would set in. The power grid would become unstable because it relies on internet-based SCADA systems to balance load. Rolling blackouts would become permanent. Manufacturing would halt. Critical infrastructure like water treatment plants would fail without their automated systems. We'd be thrust back into a pre-industrial reality, but with a post-industrial population size. The greatest tragedy might be the loss of knowledge. Any data not physically printed out or stored on a disconnected hard drive would be lost. Years of scientific research, cultural artifacts, government records, gone. We wouldn't just lose cat videos, we'd lose the blueprint of our modern civilization. A year later, if the internet suddenly flickered back on, the world it would reconnect would be unrecognizable. It would be a quieter, poorer, and far more local place. The digital global village would be a ghost town. The event would be remembered not as a mere outage, but as the Great Disconnection, a fall from grace more devastating than any war. So, the next time your video buffers, just be grateful the entire world isn't buffering along with it.